Good evening. My name is Michael Wagner. I am the owner of Wagner Prep, which is a test prep and college admissions consulting company. I've been or started out as a high school history teacher, and then through multiple different iterations, developed this current company. We do test prep and college admissions for private clients one-on-one, and then also partner with New York City schools throughout the five boroughs. What we're going to cover today is like the college admissions timeline and what to expect. So, as I said, I'll be giving you guys like real actionable tips, and then of course there'll be a whole bunch of resources at the end of this webinar. And then I also just want to take a moment to introduce Megan here. She is our relationships manager. So, if you send us an email or give us a call, you'll be in touch with her. She was a former professor at the University of Arizona, and now works with us on building client relationships and making sure that we exceed the expectations that parents have for us. So she's going to be controlling the chat. So if you have any questions that come up, pop into your mind, you can put them in the chat either to everyone or directly to her, and she'll be able to either answer them via text there, or if it's a question that might be broadly applicable, she'll apply it or open it up to me to be able to address for everyone. The idea is to get through this and then have some real time for Q&A, because there might be perspective sides to this that I'm not addressing, and I just maybe didn't think of it. But I have almost 20 years of experience in the education industry. I've seen a lot and kind of seen it from a lot of different perspectives. And I'm happy to share that with you guys all tonight. So with that being said, we are going to jump into the slide deck. All right. So as I mentioned, this is college admissions timelines, what to expect. I assume the vast majority of you have students in high school, and the vast majority have rising seniors. So that's going to be the bulk of our discussion today, but I am going to go through high school just to kind of give some quicker early steps as well. Before I do that, we need to get on the same page in terms of college knowledge and college vocabulary. Things might have changed if you sort of since when you applied to college. There are now a whole lexicon of words here that didn't exist
Should be
20,
problema
25
PB.
years ago.
Primeiro,
So in out of this huge text box on the screen, the most important one to pay attention to is the top one, early decision. If you're applying to competitive colleges, you're going to be using early decision if you want to give yourself a leg up in the admissions process. Some schools have or use this to really extreme extents. Schools like Tulane University fill up about two-thirds of their class using early decision. So that just shows you how important they find this admissions tool. What this actually means is that you're choosing that and saying it's your top choice college, and if you get in, you have to go there. It's a binding decision. So you want to be thoughtful about this, but it does improve your odds of attending. The other term that is a little unfamiliar is early action. And so early action is just applying early, but it's not binding. This can have benefits towards scholarships and honors colleges, things we'll talk about a little bit later. And that's if it seems like college admissions has gotten earlier and earlier and moved up, it's because it has, largely due in part to these two terms, early decision and early action. Other school terms on here are pretty straightforward, except for restrictive early action, which is a more niche term. But regular decision is the typical timeline that students have used for decades past, which tends to be around like the new year. So we'll talk about regular decision versus early decision a little bit later. So those are the terms. In terms of deadlines, we have in-house. We kind of use these or use July 15th as our first major milestone for rising seniors to come in and try to push them to get their college essays done by that time. August 1st, the Common App opens. Common App is the application that the students will be using to apply to most schools, although not every school is on it and not every school uses it. But in general, that's the main one. And then we talked about early action, early decision. So that's somewhere between October 15th and November 15th. A really important part of college admissions to understand it is that these are all individual institutions. Even state universities are not always aligned within the state. They have their own metrics, their own rules for admission. So a lot of this advice is in general, although these deadlines are the typical deadlines throughout college admissions. As I mentioned, January 1st, around the new year, it starts the regular decision deadline. And then the deadline to actually make your choice on college will be that following, in the spring, May 1st. It tends to be decision day. But there's a lot, that's just front loading, but there's a lot of how do we get there? Just as another note, at the end of this or tomorrow morning via email, I will link to you those text boxes and all this information. You'll have the slide deck entirely. You'll have the recording, and then also there's some other really good free resources in there to help you navigate this process. But taking a step back in the high school process, when we say rising freshmen or rising sophomores, it means like in the fall, they will be a freshman or they will be a sophomore. So this is early on. So if you're joining, you don't yet have a rising senior. What's the kind of timeline? What's the next step for you? When parents call asking for, should we start with SAT or ACT prep in freshman year? In most cases, we're saying it's way too early. Focus on GPA and extracurricular development. The big differentiator in college admissions now is having a sticky student as opposed to a well-rounded student. So the old norm was you wanted to, be a captain of your team, and then also in the debate, and then also, volunteering, and be very well-rounded. But now colleges are looking for sustained interest in one particular discipline, hobby, whatever it may be, over 4 years. And that's what they mean by sticky. You stand out and follow this kind of trend up as opposed to just kind of being a little bit of everything in that old school mold of well-rounded. And then you can start doing college tours. It's never too early, although, from working with a lot of students now, when they're a freshman and they're going around campus, it doesn't have the same weight to the college visit. So I really always just focus on GPA and extracurricular development if you're have a early high school student. For rising juniors, so that means they're finishing sophomore year now and they're going into their junior year. There's two major points that I would take away from this webinar. One is to map out your testing lane. Not every school is test required, but all it takes is one to then like need it on your list. And then for we don't know what schools will be when it comes time to actually apply because not every school maps out test optional in perpetuity. So we always recommend if you're going to take the test to start preparing, thinking about it in your junior year. From there, you just want to think about when is the best time to take it, and not just take it once, but you have a testing lane. We tend to recommend taking it twice and most likely a third time. Ideally, you take it once and never need to take it again. But sometimes things happen and you need to take it again. So we do other webinars where we get into the nitty gritty of test prep strategy. Just even a high level here because we're more focused on college admissions. So these would be the kind of four lanes or loosely based around the season of when you would start taking test prep as a rising junior. Most students take Algebra 2 their junior year. So that's why we tend to not start in the summer. Or if we do, it's just going to be a little bit more difficult on the student, and it'll be more teaching on our part as opposed to review for their test prep tutoring. But it is possible, and some students also take Algebra 2 in their sophomore year. So uh, that's the first part of a rising junior. And the second one is to think about college visits. Now that it's getting a little bit more real in their junior year, that's when it's good to get a couple college visits uh, on the schedule. I like to think of college visits as in categories. So trying to think of like instead of just checking off schools that you might be peripherally interested in, think about hitting the categories of schools that you want to so that the student can see what these schools are like. For example, visiting a public university, a mid-sized private, maybe a smaller private liberal arts college, and a tech school if that is something that your student is interested in, uh, just to get a sense of like the differences on campus, the culture, the feel, and they don't have to be in four corners of the United States. As an example, you could go upstate to in upstate New York, hit SUNY Buffalo, which is the largest state university in New York, with 26,000 students. And then you could go just an hour away to Rochester, see University of Rochester, which if a student is interested in health sciences, they have great programs. It's a mid-sized private university. And then additionally, you could go to Rochester Institute of Technology, see what a tech school looks like in the same town. And then on the way home, hit Colgate for an elite private liberal arts college feel. And it would manage to see what four types of schools are like beyond just focusing in on just the one school, did you like it or not? And similarly, you could do this in any state, really. But being that a lot of our clients are from the New York area, I focused on New York or Boston, where you could go to UMass Amherst, which is their large flagship public college, Boston College for that mid-sized closed campus private feel, Wellesley for more smaller liberal arts, and depending on how competitive your student is, MIT or WPI for a tech school in the Boston area if they want a more hands-on education. Other notes on this in terms of just college visits in general, you have to make it work with your own work schedules and all sorts of other things. But in general, it's best to go on campus when the students are on campus. Summer tours are fine, but the vibe is different because there's no students on campus or very few students on campus. So recognizing that is one piece of this puzzle. For juniors, I tend to recommend February break as a good time to go because most students in college are on campus, but a lot of high schools in the Northeast have that week off, so it's a good time to go. However, keep in mind weather and climate in your college visits. If you want a kid to go to a SUNY, visiting in February might not be the best idea. You're going to get, cold, gray, snowy weather, as opposed to if you went up in April or May, it's going to be a lot nicer. And I just through 20 years of doing this, students have, very different reactions when they're visiting schools if it's like a cold, rainy day with no one on campus. Some of that's out of your control, but I try to direct them to the southern schools in the winter, and then in the spring go up to the Northeast. All right, so that's like the quick of it for the younger grades of freshmen through juniors. Most people on this call, I would imagine, are here because they have rising seniors, so they're on the doorstep of applying to college. And this is going to be a little bit more detailed, a little bit more granular on a month-by-month basis for these for this next step. So As mentioned, I'm going to share this deck with you. So if you're on a phone or something, and it's a little too small, you'll have access to it, and you can go like take a look month by month. I realize that we're almost done with the spring here, and the school year is almost over. So these are some key things to be hitting. You know, Ideally, you would have kind of doing this as they wrap up their junior year. One thing to note, that top part, that for the testing strategy, if you haven't started, or you just kind of want to get a sense of where, like maybe they took it once and you want your student to take it again, we do offer free diagnostic SATs. We'll have a link to that in the resources and at the end of the slide. Um, at this point, it's more of the exploring phase, right? And so you're exploring college majors, size, location, campus vibes. That kind of connects back to what we were talking about with the junior year, kind of going to visit schools by category as opposed to specific schools that might be very like far apart and then take up huge amounts of time to go visit all of them. So students are going to start kind of trying to build filters to narrow down their list. We work with all types of students, and from like super competitive top 20 colleges to students who are just like, I want to go somewhere that is a good fit, and I'm going to have a good experience, right? And so the first thing we need to do is have some type of filter to take some choices out of the equation. Maybe California is too far. The South's not a good fit. They like the Northeast. They like skiing, whatever it may be. And now you start kind of putting together a profile. These are the kind of things that you want to be thinking about early on, before the school year ends. If When the calendar changes, which is amazing, next week will be June. This is when it gets real, and you're going to want to start building that preliminary college list. One of the questions that we get often is like, how many schools should I apply to? That, of course, is a personal question, but it matters more how many reach schools you want to apply to. You should have a pretty balanced list with like one to two likely schools that you can count on getting into, and then have a handful of target schools that you're in line for. You would expect to, at least have a 51% chance of getting into. And then your reach schools are up to you. Reach tends to be you have like less than 25% chance of getting in. And then it's just, how many chances do you want to take? We'll talk about some of the drawbacks of applying to a lot of them, in a moment. But uh, at this point, you're not worried about any of the extra work. You're just kind of exploring, all the different possible schools, and ideally putting them on a spreadsheet, kind of keeping notes on this. Now, if you're like my son, my daughter would never do it this way. They're not going to stay organized. We do work with students to help them, but I will give you a template, like a free resource to just work. The student can use on their own to keep all this together and on track as well. Also in June, we suggest students start brainstorming and drafting their Common App personal statement. So that's the 650 word personal essay that they're going to be writing and submitting to all of their universities that they apply to. And then begin to research the schools. The word research really does a lot here. So some students know how to do this and really can do this on their own. Other students, we guide through that process. I suggest using some type of edited resource, something like Fisk's Guide to Colleges. You could buy that book on Amazon for about $15. It's a big, thick green book, but at least it'll give you about 2 to 3 pages of the take on that college. But there's editors behind it. There's a company that's been doing this for decades that stands behind their research. So it's not just a Reddit thread from someone who had a bad experience at University of Texas and now wants the whole world to know about it. I like to start there, but then also we understand students learn in lots of different ways. Niche.com is another good resource for college research that students use. And what some of our advisors will do is actually build out some links and some to different YouTube videos, TikToks, Instagram Reels with students that might have similar majors overlap. They do day in the life type videos that just connect more with students, and it's easier to get them to watch a YouTube video than it is to read a book. So we got to find meet them where they're at. But every student's different, so we adjust our strategy towards the students we work with. Um, Also, this is an important one for all your rising seniors. Before they leave, ideally they've identified at least one teacher to ask for a letter of recommendation. Every school handles this differently, every high school. Some have them fill out forms, and there's a more formal process of requesting. But if it's ad hoc, they should definitely have at least requested one letter, or kind of let that teacher know, hey, in this fall, I'm going to be asking you, will you be able to write it? That kind of a thing, preempting that and creating that connection. And then if you have time, you could start visiting colleges, although the students won't be there. At least, if you haven't started yet, it's good. It's good to at least get on one or two college campuses before you're doing this research, because it helps students recognize what a school with 26,000 students really looks and feels like, and what a school with 2,000 really looks and feels like. All right. In July, so July and August is where you want to make a lot of your uh, uh, or gain a lot of ground if you can. Some students travel, some students are doing internships or classes, working, full time. But in general, we really try to push our students to be done with their Common App essay by July 15th. If we start working with them in June, so it gives us kind of a 6 week window to draft, revisit, that kind of thing. It's all individualized, right? So some students need more time. They go through different ideas. Writing is a process. It's not, creating widgets. So sometimes the best idea is in the second draft, third paragraph, which then becomes the full, essay, that you're doing. It doesn't have to be done by July 15th. It's just like we try to push the students in that way because it is the number one thing students procrastinate on. They will do SAT prep before they start writing their Common App essay. And really, the reason is that it's such a big project and it feels so weighty and important that they just can't get started. And so, having help getting started, whether through school or at home as a parent, is really important. Although I can only imagine trying to help a teenage son or daughter with their essay. They probably don't want to hear from you too much as a parent, but it really helps to work through that process and kind of have that done before the avalanche of all the other things that is applying to college. So Common App essay in July, that's kind of like the drum beat you want to be kind of playing again and again to your students. And then in addition, you want to start thinking about material like stories, things that they're going to say for supplemental essays. As I mentioned, we'll talk more about that as the season gets later. But they're a big part of this college admissions piece. So you want to make sure that uh, if you're done with the Common App essay, that would be the next thing to move on to. Another thing that you could get started in July is to create a resume. Not every school asks for a resume, and it is slightly redundant because on the Common App, you're going to put in all your activities, all like they're gonna have your transcript, everything like that. But some schools still ask for a resume, and then also sometimes for honors colleges, things like that, they ask for a resume. And then it's also just never a bad thing to have that resume ready to go because the senior year NHS could come up and they want a resume, and then eventually they're going to get a job, and so it's good to have something to work off of. And then also in July they could start drafting, organizing just on a Word doc. There are Common App activities. There are 10 activities. Ideally, you want to, or 10 spaces for activities. You want to have 10 spots if you can. So that's something to kind of brainstorm with students about. And the Common App allows for 150 characters in each space. So, doing this ahead of time, and kind of thinking about this, organizing them in priority, is all part of the college admissions process. But that's why this summer they're going to be working hard if they're a rising senior. And then the last piece of this, to register for fall standardized tests if needed, depending on when you got started, testing plan, where you're going, all that kind of stuff. The SAT is offered in August, September now, October, November, and December, and the ACT is offered in September, October, and December. So depending on your plans, adjust for that. All right. So then August. So as the summer nears to a close, now you also want to be kind of wrapping up that college research and have your list kind of narrowed down. August 1st, the Common App opens. So that's another important deadline where the student can actually start technically applying to college on August 1st. But you can build out some of the basic information in your Common App essay even before the Common App Common Application before it officially opens. It'll carry over, but I usually just have students do it on August 1st because there's you kind of just that's the next step in August to do. The Common App is going to ask all the basic information, but then it's going to ask a lot of information for parents. Your work history, your education history. So you're going to need to help fill that out. So that's another thing to do in August. Then, you want to strategize about your early action, early decision schools. And if you are going to go early decision, if there's one school that is a favorite for your student, then identify that and then make sure that is the priority, and you have the supplemental essays all done. Additionally, in August, as you're narrowed your list, now you can do a little bit heavier research on scholarship opportunities and financial aid. In general, the best financial aid you're going to get is from the institution itself. So it's not going to be like a private, like Coca-Cola scholarship. It's going to be that Syracuse University is giving you the presidential scholarship for $25,000 a year. And so that's also a part of this kind of narrowing down your list, is looking at merit aid offers, talking to the admissions officers, what's likely to come, trying to get a feel for that as you build your list or finalize your list. And then here's where a college application spreadsheet tracker would be helpful for the deadlines, for the portals as you apply. Then they're going to send you links and have you create usernames. So trying to keep tabs on all of this would be really helpful. And as a general rule of thumb, it's good to set internal deadlines for all of this because these essays can start to add up. So coming back to supplemental essays. So I mentioned supplemental essays. This is a part of the college admissions process that makes it drag on. Not every school, but many of the top schools and common and popular schools ask for an additional essay or four to apply to that school. So as an example from last cycle, here are three schools: UW-Madison, which asks for 650 words on top of the 650-word essay you've already written on your personal statement for the Common App. And this is just for UW-Madison. And what they're looking for here is for students who do research and learn about University of Wisconsin-Madison and why they really want to go there and why it would be a good fit. So you don't want to mail this one in if you actually want to go here. It's a way for them to test like legitimate interest in the school instead of just students like shotgunning applications, to all these different schools. They want to find who actually wants to go there, which helps them on the other side of this in terms of yield of people who admit the or accept the offers. Um, but then other schools like Cornell and UGA also offer or have these supplemental essays. And as you can see from these three, they're very unique. You couldn't just write one for all three because they're unique questions. Now, there are some common threads. The communities essay by Cornell is going to be, or in many other places have something similar to that. But the UGA one is really unique to University of Georgia. So, that might be just a one and done that you're going to have to spend time creating that. And then for Cornell here, this is for their like College of Arts and Sciences. But if you apply to different schools within that university, there's going to be more requirements, more writing. As an example, a very popular school these days is the University of Michigan, and students like to go there for their School of Business. And this is the Ross School of Business requirements. So just to apply to the University of Michigan Ross School of Business, you have to write your 650 word Common App essay, do all the Common App stuff, the 10 activities, all of that. And then in addition, write a 300-word essay about communities, a 550 word essay about like why the Ross School of Business, a 500 word essay about a current event or issue in your community/business implications, and then also a 250-word essay explaining the document or artifact that represents something significant about your life to show your learning in action. And this is for one school. So this is why the college admissions process can create a lot of stress on teenagers and families as a whole. And this is why we really try to front load the Common App essay, get the Common App done, the activities, all that kind of stuff, because as you run into these types of supplemental essays, it just derails you. It takes a lot of time, especially if students are taking a heavy course load as a senior, because they want to be impressive to get into a school like the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. So they're managing, three APs while also doing all this. So the summer really is that time to get ahead and get out in front of all this. So this is what's like a sample college, like a spreadsheet that we would work with students on. Maybe they went to visit, the two of the local SUNYs, Stony Brook and Binghamton. And then as we're building it out, right, we have their deadlines and we would highlight, we would prioritize, move these around. Most schools have either like Naviance, Maya, Score, some type of way of like their own internal kind of college admissions matrix that students can see to kind of get a more precise look of from their school, like their chances of getting into places. I just much prefer a spreadsheet in this way because now we have all the dates right there, right for us from the Common App, and then kind of build it out this way. So we're working in alongside those tools. So we use the scattergrams that those sites provide for the specific school, along with a larger common data set of information. And we want to build the list to have some target schools, some likely schools, some reach schools. And then, as we mentioned, like, how many reach schools is up to you. If you want to do the University of Michigan Ross School of Business, then it's going to take you some time. And then Cornell's School of Management is also a 650-word essay. And so, those start stacking up. So then we would just say, all right, what's your top choice? The next one, and we just take it one at a time to manage the workload, and then also make sure we hit the priorities given like the ED and EA deadlines. All right, so then come September, school starts again. So you want to kind of have by September, a sense of early action, early decision. What are you doing? Are you using early decision? definitely want to confirm that you have your recommenders writing your letters. A lot of schools will have college fairs, information sessions, or the regional college reps will visit the schools. Make sure if one of those schools is on your list that you're there. You go and visit, say hi. Um, it's always good in the Common App to review the deadlines, any applications. You can apply before the deadline so that if there's something that you're missing, you can have time to get to it. And then, of course, you're going to keep working on those supplemental essays because so many of these schools have supplemental essays that rarely, if you're applying to top 50 kind of schools, you're not going to be done before school starts because it's just too much. So October is when you might first start applying, depending on your school list. So the southern schools tend to be have the October 15th deadline. So schools like UNC and Georgia Tech, the Florida State schools are their early decision and early action is October 15th. So that would be your earliest admissions deadline. Typically, it's November 1st, or it could be November 15th. But so obviously in October, you want to have that mapped out. Also in October, the FAFSA form and the CSS profile open. Well, at least FAFSA is supposed to. The last 2 years in a row, it's gotten delayed until December. They revamped it 2 years ago, and they're still working out the kinks. FAFSA, even if you aren't going to qualify for need-based aid, it's still worthwhile to fill out the FAFSA form. And the reason being is that schools use this for institutional aid. So, you might apply to Wake Forest and it's $98,000 a year. If you don't fill out the FAFSA form, the school won't know like where you fit and what's likely that what is likely for you to be able to afford. And so it's less likely that you would get any kind of institutional aid. The CSS profile is run through the College Board. So that's the makers of the AP and the SAT. It's an additional level of financial information. It's a pain in the neck. It takes some time. You're going to end up having to go back and look at your taxes, and it's generally a headache for parents to deal with it, especially if families are or parents are split. It can create even more headaches. So it's good to get that started when it opens in October. You It's not purely on a first come first serve basis that aid is given, but you don't want to be doing it in April, May, and June. You want to submit that alongside your application if possible. Before if you're applying early. If you're applying regular decision, then you can do this in December, January. And because the FAFSA has been delayed, they are getting used to making decisions without it. But
Hey Mike, do you
yeah,
know how many years of taxes are typically required for FAFSA and
FAFSA is like last year's taxes. It's not
just last year?
but the CSS profile is 3 years back. Yeah.
Thanks.
Um, the double checking recommendation letters are submitted. So recommendation letters are also that's where your school's guidance counselor is going to come in. They're going to be able to process that through oftentimes like Naviance or Score, Maya, whatever the third party app that they're using for college admissions is. And then also test scores depending on when you took it, you asked them to be submitted, or you might have to do it through the Common App or through the College Board. Your school counselor should be able to help with that as well. And then, of course, to make sure you proofread your applications before, so you don't instead of saying University of Michigan, say University of Texas, and you catch those mistakes because the admissions offices don't like that. So to add more confusion to this mix, so you already have early decision and early action. And then you have restrictive early action, which I didn't even get into too much. But there are priority deadlines in some schools. For example, Purdue University is a hidden gem of a university for me. They froze their tuition for a decade straight. So even for out-of-state students, it's still under $40,000. And it's a NASA feeder school, so they have great engineering, computer science programs. So there's a lot to like about this school, but I'm just using it as an example of a school with a priority deadline. So they encourage students to apply early in order to get into their honors college and to maximize their scholarship offers. So this is another like element of pressure that they're putting on students to apply early, but not every school does this. So some do, some don't. That's why in August you really kind of want to narrow down that list and know where you have to apply early and where you don't, so that you can prioritize appropriately. Some schools, really want you to apply early. Others, it's not as important. So, just another aspect of this and why you might be applying early at this time. So then in that early admissions game, November is kind of an important month. November 1st, November 15th are those deadlines. Some priority deadlines are actually December 1st, so keep that in mind as well. It might say it on the Common App, although it doesn't always say it on the actual Common Application profile itself. Um, the Some schools have their own independent scholarship applications that, when you submit it early, they'll say, "Hey, do you want to apply for this scholarship?" And it could be 3 or 4 or 10 more questions and another application. Sometimes the scholarship offices don't talk to the admissions offices, and so then they're asking for some duplicate information, but it just takes time. It's not necessarily hard. It's just, time consuming. Um, first semester grades really do matter. Don't try to hold back the senioritis as best you can. The Even if you're applying early, you might get deferred or waitlisted, and so then what they're saying is we like what we saw, but we might want to just make sure that you're in those three AP classes your senior year, you're still hitting 95s and above, and then they'd offer you a spot. It also is important if you do get waitlisted or deferred, you can send a letter of continued interest saying, "Hey, look, I'm excelling in these AP courses, the hardest level courses my school offers," and kind of build yourself up for that second round.
Yeah, Mike, we had a question a little bit ago that might be a good one to
Mhm.
address here, which is we've got a rising senior and he has more well-rounded extracurriculars. Do you suggest that I focus my activities in my final year of high school in something on the path to my intended major?
So there's
Like, yeah.
There's going to be supplemental questions about asking you why you want to major in this topic or that. So if you're a business major per se, right? If you then this summer did some type of internship or started your own small business, or something in that lane, it's going to connect and kind of marry the two well. Um, it's not to say that a well-rounded student can still make a good application. If you're well-rounded, what I would suggest is leaning into curiosity. You still want to show leadership opportunities and impact. So those are the two main things when you're thinking about extracurricular is like, am I being a leader in this? And did you start it? Did you like push it forward? What are you doing to move this thing? And then impact. What was the result of your whether it's employment, engagement, community sponsorship, whatever it is. So impact and leadership opportunity is the thing to prioritize over trying to kind of perfect a narrative.
And then what if you haven't been a leader at all up to this point, or you're, don't have that many extracurriculars going into your senior year?
Yeah, so the summer is still it's not over yet. The For teenagers, I would say it like you have no idea how happy adults would be to help out a teenager. So if you're interested in a specific field, email people that seem interesting. You can find them through this thing called LinkedIn that adults use, and connect with people that way, or just like directly emailing, cold calling. If a teenager cold called me, I'd be much more inclined to help them, in their pursuit. And it could be if you're interested in becoming a vet, call around and you'll find someone who might, is going to have some kind of situation to help let you shadow, right? And now that could lead into maybe you start working in that the veterinary office. Maybe you learn, hey, I actually don't want to do this. This is not for me. But having um, just because you don't have anything lined up, the summer's not over, and people, there's opportunities out there. The more it takes of you to find it or you to start it, the better it looks for college because they recognize that's a hard thing to do. If you have a special skill or talent, there's always an opportunity to teach that, share that with the community. Local libraries are a great way to kind of get started with some kind of programming like that as well. It doesn't have to just be you. You have a network, you have friends, talk to them, see what you can get involved doing. I had one student that loves fishing and was able to talk to a nonprofit wing that does like teaches fishing for students with special needs. And they brought he like started that chapter in New York City, and then eventually was able to actually hold an event where they were doing that in Central Park, and he organized that. But the first year he did it, he got his friends to help him be the teachers to for these other students. But then he did it the next year and the next year, and so then that shows, that like he's committed to that part of the community. So you don't always have to have it all figured out just yet. Other questions, Megan, or should I keep going?
A little bit more specific is her son's got an internship this summer working on an election campaign. Wants to be in poli sci, but how would this be leadership? Is it just that he pursued the internship? And I think it's finding some leadership within the internship, right?
Yeah, so then trying to take advantage of those opportunities if he can, that I would have to learn more about what he's doing, that kind of thing. So it's like, is there an opportunity for him to then pull some friends of his and then be the lead person to canvas another neighborhood, where then he can talk about like, those moments and when things go wrong, as they inevitably will, and learning how to overcome that obstacle, that failure. Um, so it's a good place to start. And I know it's hard to, tell your teams to get motivated and take initiative, but that's really the goal here. So that's it's hard to fake that. So schools are looking and like, have their dog ears kind of listening for that.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, Mike. Keep
So
going.
we're almost out of this whole process because by November you're applying. Maybe you're prepping for some interviews with alumni or on campus. December you're really kind of like in the home stretch here. Uh, if you applied EA or ED, you'll start hearing in December. Some schools in January, but some in December. And then that'll allow you to apply early decision two for schools that offer that, which means that you get to apply in the regular decision pool, but you're saying, hey, this is my number one choice. If you select me, I will definitely go. Complete any other remaining like applications in December. And then also if you have any interviews scheduled. And then take a breather if you can. If you've done all of this and you're actually on this timeline, like you should be able to enjoy the holidays and not be stressed out. The January, February, just kind of wrapping up wherever is missing or whatever you didn't get to. This is where it becomes important to track application portals and deadlines. So that's a really important piece here where I was showing where like some of the spreadsheets that we use. So keeping tabs on usernames, passwords, and all that kind of stuff. So this is something that we provide the students with, just keeping track of where you got in, where you got denied, and then also the scholarship offers. When you have to accept by, what your passwords are. Sometimes you have to you can't use that email, or there's some kind of weird thing, so you want to just kind of keep all that information together. Um, and then March, April, we're looking at getting those results back. So this is the fun time where you get to make those decisions. Um, it's important to compare financial aid offers and scholarships. If you didn't get into the school that you wanted to, that's where a letter of continued interest, updating them on the good work that you're doing, other leadership opportunities that you've taken advantage of, other internships, research projects, whatever, like something tangible that they haven't learned about since you applied. Now you would send in and talk to them. Maybe you want to revisit or visit your top school choices that now that you know the answers of their admissions decisions. And then the last thing you really do is like submit your enrollment deposit to hold your seat by May 1st, and that would be choosing that school. If you're waitlisted, you may be waitlisted past this May 1st deadline. You kind of have to roll the dice and accept your spot at one school. You might lose your deposit, but if a school that's a better fit comes off, but that's just the nature of it. This is an example of a student that we worked with last cycle, where merit aid was a really important factor in the decision. And so as the decisions came in, we added some columns to the sheet to include tuition, room and board for these schools, what the total is, and then with the actual scholarship offer, what it would be. And so it helped to make that decision. And when you look at all the choices in the spring, then you're making a confident and clear decision. So if this seemed really complex and crazy for a 17-year-old to do on their own, yeah, I'm with you. We have definitely made this way more complex than in many other countries. Part of this being that we have over 2,000 four-year colleges, and they're all independent institutions that have their own process and way of doing it. The Common App is a blessing and a curse. Although it makes things easier to apply to college, it also makes it easier to apply to a lot of colleges. So that's where it gets harder to predict where students are going to get in now. And test optional policies also have made it a little bit more chaotic. So it just students and families need more guidance in this process. So what we do is like on our college admissions planning, we work with students one-on-one, whether it's just strategizing, like, hey, I need someone to just tell me big picture, or if it's getting in there, line edits, nitty-gritty, like let's make your college essay really speak to your application, help smooth out the activities section, talk about ED, EA decisions, admit rates, find programs, help students research colleges. Every student needs different things. So obviously we're there to provide what students need and help them through this process. We also do test prep and subject tutoring. And so I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we do a lot of SAT, ACT prep, AP, IB, and just any kind of um, subject tutoring. So um, I got into this because I love working with students, and our whole entire company is kind of built off of that approach of finding connection with our students. And with this, it's not even just students. It's not just like SAT where you're really working with the student. It's the family as a whole. You take a look at our Google reviews. You'll see if you're interested in support. You'll hear that come through in the Google reviews that we're really there through the whole process. So that is something that uh, I guess would be a differentiator in our approach. And then, if you want to talk more about this, you want to learn more about this, Megan knows, the whole cycle now, and can kind of answer any of those questions. And then also about like what the right next step is. We will send this out to you as well if you're interested in working with a professional, but you don't have to. There are some free resources out there. What I recommend, we're going to give like the college list tracker and like what we use to everyone who attended here, so you can use that. Just make a copy and use that in your college search. The college search guide is written by Jeff Salingo, who's just a great resource in this field. It'll take you through if you want just like a shorter, not a full book, but just a more thorough PDF of ROI on college, why college, different types of colleges to work through. That's a really good resource. This isn't free, but it's close to free. It's a book on Amazon about the college essay. It's called Write Your Way In. I love the messaging behind it, and it really helps to generate ideas. So whether you as a parent or as a student wanted to take a look at that, that's a really good resource. We'll send out the common essay prompts in case you want to get started in June. Strongly recommend that. I always like linking this as well. It's college essays that worked. Johns Hopkins sends this out every year and they update it. Although, share this with your students with caution. You don't want to create like a copycat situation. Sometimes students will see it and be like, oh, I'm just going to write it like, just to kind of steal that style. We want to try to find their authentic voice. But it's good to see that there's a wide range of topics. I had students write about, chopped cheese, about why they hate snow days, about how they eat their corn on the cob. It does not have to be this profound thing. It's about the profound lessons you take from that experience. And then, of course, if you're still in the test prep world, this Saturday we have a free diagnostic test that's proctored by one of our tutors. But if you can't make this one, you could, which is May 31st at 9 a.m. We could set you up with one that you could take on your own. It just won't have a virtual proctor. All right. So it is now exactly 8 o'clock. I was a little slow going through the year, but I have time for questions. If there are still some, Megan, you tell me.
Yeah, there are. One thing to note is we can also do the ACT now
Oh yeah.
in Proctor, a free test. So feel free to email me or info at Wagner Prep and we can get that set up. When do schools come out with all the requirements? Are they out now for?
It's like the supplemental essays. So they only have what they did last year. So that's why we don't really start working on them until August 1st when the Common App opens and we pull them directly from the Common App. I don't like having students write essays and then they change. Like some schools are pretty standard, but they can tweak them. And so I don't want to get started on that. In
Yeah,
general, that's where like the college research is the thing you're going to get started on. And really honing in on that list early.
great. And then some schools are requiring testing again for 2026 admission where maybe they weren't before. Is that a trend?
Definitely a trend. The research shows that your SAT scores correlate higher with your GPA in college than your high school GPA does. And then it also correlates with income after graduation. So those two studies that have come out have made their way through the ranks and are pushing through the higher ed system. So also like in the fall we'll do another one of these webinars about standardized testing. It in gen like if you can get the score, it's going to help your application. But different schools have different requirements, and it's less important for some. If you're going to a tech school, they really want to see a 700 on the math side of things. They're even though they're test optional, it's might be less likely that they're test optional.
I see. Let's see. So you mentioned Purdue. Are there other colleges that you'd like to recommend? Your favorite colleges right now, Mike, on the
Oh
spot.
man, yeah, favorite colleges. So there's, I mean, obviously it's like so contextual.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I like, I really like students, if you're a New Yorker, to think about the SUNYs, but don't let your students be like infected by like TikTok and Instagram, where it's like, oh, big state school, Southern party school is like what we need. The SUNYs are such a good value, such a good bargain, especially if you're thinking about law school, medical school, um, master's programs afterwards. You can easily graduate, staying potentially debt free, and then have wiggle room in higher ed. On um, the more like kind of non-traditional schools, University of South Carolina actually gives a lot of merit aid. So if a student does want a Southern like kind of big football, school kind of thing, they give a lot of merit aid to our students. So that could be a really good school that people wouldn't think of.
Yeah, and then the other day when we were on a call, you mentioned like a small business school I hadn't heard of before.
Yeah. So well,
There's like a handful of those that I'm like, oh yeah, those are great options.
yeah, Babson is one that people tend to know about, but it's purely business focused. If your student is an entrepreneur, like focused on that kind of a thing, that would be a great option. Bentley is the lesser known of those schools, but has great programs. Will probably give you a lot more merit aid than Babson will, and will still give you a lot of industry connections. So that could be another great option. Uh,
Yeah, and I'll just highlight this is exactly what Mike does in consultations with folks for coming up with their college list. And it's having his expertise that's so important when you're drafting that list rather than going through the 2,000 schools by yourself. Tap into Mike, get a handful of
And
places
that's
to
the
start
also, it's like
looking.
we said, it's contextual, right? So
It's so
like business,
contextual.
I'm thinking that way, but then if you're telling me like, you love history or anthropology, it's something
Yeah.
different. Real estate, it's something different. So um yeah, and then also I would say a little promo. Like Thursday, I'm going to be talking about international schools, but that's a bit of a hidden gem, especially if you want to save money. It's a different experience, but we have multiple students in lots of different countries in Europe right now as another option, and another way of saving money, but also like top 50 globally ranked colleges that you could go to. So,
Awesome. Well, I think that was all the questions. Oh, one last one coming in. Do you have the link to the international schools meeting? Yes, it'll go out to everyone and I can drop it in the chat right now. And then,
all right,
any last things, Mike?
go New York Knicks. I think that's the last thing I'd say. Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. Even if it's like, hey, I just didn't catch this, or you said something about this, we'll take the time and respond. Again, that's what we do is like, it's about those kind of connections. So um,
Yep.
yeah, and I hope this was helpful. That's it.
And so the email will go out that has the link in it. I don't want to hold everyone up while I'm looking for it, but
Yeah, that'll be tomorrow morning. Like it'll have all the resources, everything that we talked about. Oh, I didn't do the last slide, which is our college admissions team. But yeah, we have a very talented college admissions team with varied experience, and then it also allows us to talk with one another to get different perspectives, if we're ever stuck on a list or need another set of eyes on an essay.
awesome.
All
Thank you,
right,
everyone.
wonderful. All right, I hope everyone has a good night and the Knicks win. Take care.